A sutra on time written in the colloquial now, a discourse from another world, the many dimensions of human experience, dispersing old finite structures into infinity and beyond. This is the untold story of time and space, how it comes into existence, how human beings interact with it, how it serves to bring all tribes, cultures, communities, and nations back together again in mutual collaboration. Allow this book to delight you, to challenge you, your thinking, and invite you to fully participate in the story you have come here to co-create. The Galactic Historian, The World According to Andrew Bartzis, is the spiritual medicine for our time.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to another adventure into literature. You are asking, is this the first one? This is all past, present, and future shows simultaneously existing. Today, I'm joined by my many dear friends, contributors, co-hosts, and all around beautiful people. I'm joined today by Monty Dean, Bruce McDonald, Dave, Martina, Laura, and Mary. Everyone here today has been a part of this book in one way, shape, or form. And everyone, we are here as a special show on this Friday afternoon to talk about The World According to Andrew Bartzis, the Galactic Historian. We have been seeing many people now taking a picture of the book they've got next to their cat. Keep that movement going. If it's your cat, your dog, your bird, your goldfish, we want to see your animal selfie next to the book. So everyone, welcome to the show. How are we all doing today?
I'm awake. It's 6 a.m.
It's Friday.
Saturday. Hello from the future.
Hey.
I'm good.
Everyone here, we have not heard from our ladies yet. All the masculine has said hello. Ladies?
I had 3 coffees just to keep it going because it's 9 o'clock, which is actually my bedtime, believe it or not.
3 coffees. Oh boy, you're going to be wired.
You guys, instead of very excited.
And Martina's right. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock and it's my bedtime. I've actually got my pajama bottoms on underneath.
Yes, it's 9 o'clock here too in Ireland, but it's actually bright daylight. It's like 9 in the morning. We have a very long day at this time of year because we're heading into the summer solstice. So it's not dark here until 11:30 or 12 midnight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Same here. It's not going to get dark till almost 10 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
So 3/4 of the panel are talking about going to sleep, which is kind of ironic because the book's about dream time.
So I want to give everyone a chance and an opportunity to kind of talk about your experience from, the beginning of the book until, day of print, because we all had our own unique experiences. Who would like to share first?
I'm happy to.
Go ahead, Laura.
Okay, so we started this way back in October, Andrew, Martina, Mary and I. And it was a get together every other week, I think it was. And the idea was, I wasn't even sure it was for a book in the beginning. A couple of us had quantum healing, QHHT, and we're taking it a bit further with Andrew. And it sort of developed. And probably most of you know, if you ask Andrew the right question, you can get him to verbalize, to come forth with some wonderful material. And that's how it happened. It was a series of asking questions and asking the right questions. And Andrew would just come forward with some wonderful material that's in the book and stuff that I'd never heard before. Most of us had never heard any of this before, because although we've been very involved and done mentorship and living the mystical life daily and listened to most of his shows and so on, we seem to sort of all connect on another level. And I think that was quite telling, because after an hour and a half or a couple of hours we actually used to get quite tired. All of us, we'd be yawning because of the level of frequency of the work we were doing. So it was also great fun. And Martina was brilliant. She went away and transcribed everything that we'd spoken about and would use that as the basis for the following week's questions. And we would get on, just play it by ear, see where we wanted to go. Some avenues Andrew didn't want to go down, so we pursued other avenues. And after Christmas, I think Dave joined us, and Bruce came on board, and we continued very much in that vein. And then Bruce stepped in and took Andrew's material. And wow, what Bruce did with Andrew's phrases and sayings without losing any of the energy and the beauty behind Andrew's work. Bruce took it and presented it in a slightly different way that I thought was phenomenal. I mean, Bruce's use of metaphor in the book, as you probably found out already, those of you who have got it and are reading it, is just astounding. I mean, I teased him and said, this really is, the biggest book of spiritual metaphor out there. It's absolutely fantastic. The way Bruce took Andrew's material and made it, I think, very readable and very understandable for the general public. And I think I'm right in saying, Bruce, you always said you wanted it to be a book that your mother or your sister or whoever, a member of the family, could pick up and read. And I think that has been achieved. I mean, it's a challenging book. It is a challenging book. It challenged me. It raised my level of awareness hugely. And I've done Living the Mystical Life. I've done Andrew's mentorship. I've worked with Andrew for a number of years. And even then, I was catapulted to another level, really, another set of experiences. And I just think, well done, team. Well done, Andrew. This has been a while. It's actually not been very long in the making when we all got together and did it, but
9 months.
Yeah, I mean that is a huge achievement, and just congratulations to all of you, to everybody who's been involved in it. It's been an absolute honour to work with all of you. It's been an honour to be working with Andrew's material as much as I have done, and I was just so honoured to be a part of this, and I thank you all for that as well. It's just been one hell of a ride.
Yeah, watching Bruce go through the 3 evolutions of absorbing the material was very unique too. And I know everyone here, we all saw it exactly, the 3 evolutions of Bruce. Bruce is saying more 4, but the first 3 were quite amusing.
Yeah. It's like falling down a chasm with a Balrog.
Yeah, good way to put it. So the Balrog win?
Oh, I'm here, aren't I?
Well, the Balrog won 2 rounds, but then Bruce, did a Rocky and came back.
Doesn't matter how hard you can hit; it's how hard you can get hit, Monty.
Yeah, keep moving forward.
Monty watched all 7 Rocky movies in 4 weeks. He'd never seen a Rocky movie. We were talking about 6 months ago, and then he watched the first one, and then he watched all 7 in about a week. So there's a couple months of Rocky metaphors from Monty there.
Even watched Creed 1 and 2. It was like, I need closure on this anecdote.
There you go. Yeah.
My experience with the book was like, Bruce, when did you ask? Because I knew Andrew because we're doing comedy shows for a while now, and I know Bruce from a radio station that we both worked on at the time. And can you remember when you asked me to ask Andrew about doing a book? Because I want to get the timing right.
I do. It would have been about middle of June.
You're about a year ago.
1 year ago.
Yeah. And it's like
right now, actually. A year ago.
Yeah. So as the Earth is moving back into the same energy, it's completion. It was slightly amusing because Bruce said, "Can you ask Andrew if he wants to do a book?" And Andrew said, "No, come back in 6 months." And we're like, all right, fair enough. And that's when Bruce came into the timeline. Unbeknownst to us, Andrew started collating information. And I guess in October, you did 3 months by yourself. And then in October, you got your team to come in and you worked on it. And that's sort of the prelude. My goal,
I worked with the team ahead of it. In October, we started meeting every other Saturday for about 2 hours at a time, recording material. And
but 3 months beforehand. Yeah, but 3 months beforehand is when Bruce said, "Can I do the book?" And that was the pebble on the side of the book. My soul contract, 10,000 years ago in a womb's like Andrew and Bruce. How can we meet up? It's like, I'll introduce you. Yeah. And that's it's my fault, ladies and gentlemen. I take full responsibility.
At that point in time, I was so busy with all the other things that were going on. Mm-hmm. I didn't have time. And then I tried to put stuff onto the paper myself, but because I didn't have the time to get into that writer zone, that's when I asked all the ladies to come and do this Q&A session with me and just say that so we can get 50, 60, 70,000 words in transcript, and from there we can create something. And then when I called Bruce, I think I spoke to you the second week in December or first week in December.
Yes.
And then did I send you? I sent you the transcript then too. Yeah.
Interesting enough, it was called Q, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's supposed to be quantum, not Q as in Q.
I know. I was getting into that. But it's fascinating seeing the evolution and how it's all, because I was given a pre-draft, and you probably have to read this book 6 or 7 times because it's like a zip file. Where your God spark goes, we know all this, but the 3D mind's like, stop, hold on, stop, because it's so involved, and it will change your life if you apply it, basically.
Yeah.
So I ask everybody in the audience who all has a copy of their book. Just right into the chat room if they do, or no if they don't yet. Yep. Good, great. We also noticed we have somebody in Japan that bought 46 books. Whoever you are, thank you so much. Okay, 46 books.
Muchas gracias.
In English, because I'm just wondering, maybe someone's learning English. It's like, I will give this book to my honorable class.
Whatever it is, thank you very much. Buying 46 books. Robert and I were surprised the other day. I'm like, huh?
Arigato.
Yeah, dossier.
So we've got a lot of people that are already there. So for anybody that's already read a little bit of the book, go ahead and chat room and write something about it. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go over to Mary. Why don't you give your view of how you saw the book evolved and part of your involvement in it and what you experienced?
Well, I think I was sharing with you all on our groups that it was something I never thought, Andrew, I'd be part of, writing a book. I really never saw that at all in my timeline, but it was a wonderful experience for me. And on our meetings, on our group meetings, when we used to meet from October until whatever time, and I don't know how many months we met for, those meetings were just something else really for me, because I used to find when I was doing the mentorship course, and I do find this sometimes on courses, I can be quiet. But I found on those meetings where we all had to give our contributions towards the book, I found that the information just flowed. And I think, Andrew, that in a way that was actually as well, because you acted as the hub for us. You just somehow provided that space where we were able to just give what we knew. And for me, that was a wonderful experience to experience that kind of flow of information. And it left me with the feeling that, this is actually possible. If I were with the group like this, maybe I could do this too. Maybe I might be able to write a book as well. And the content of the book is something, of course, that we have discussed many times before, but there's an awful lot of stuff in it that is new. And like everything we brought up, Andrew, you seemed to have just, reams of information on, and it was just a case of how much are we going to put down here. So, but that was wonderful, just having the information flow like that. And when we started to put it when we started typing it up and we started looking at it and editing it, I think I shared with you all, and I think it's worth mentioning here, that I did have quite a unique experience with it when I started reading the first draft. I started to feel as if I was having, I suppose, for want of a better way of describing it, maybe an out-of-body experience, because I started to leave the place where I was reading it, and I started to imagine myself teaching, and I started to go to other places, and I started to skip pages, but yet I had read them all, and I didn't know what was happening. It was great, but I thought, I'm not doing anything here. I'm not really editing this book. What am I doing? So I just put it down for a while. And when I came back to it on the next draft, I had a different experience. This time I felt I was able to read it and stay with it. So I don't really know what I was doing on the first one, and it doesn't really matter because it was great. And it showed me teaching from the book in some future time zone, and that was great. And what else can I say? Laura has said a lot of what I would want to say about it already, but it has been just an amazing experience. It's something that I'm really proud to be part of, and really proud of all of you, and really grateful to all of you for holding this hub and for making all of this possible. And it is all of the teachings, Andrew, that I have heard you talk about since I first started to follow you in 2012. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So as you were watching this book evolve and watching Bruce absorb the material, meeting after meeting, any reflections there?
It was, I liked the way that Bruce and Laura mentioned this, and I know I did mention this on our meetings too, that he always kept in mind that he wanted the book to reach the people like his mother or his friends. And that's something that I had always too in my mind. When I was reading it, I used to think, I wonder what would my friends think if they were reading this. And I think that Bruce always aimed the book at that kind of audience. It wasn't necessarily the people that were the well-informed in your work, Andrew. It was people that were just trying to learn this maybe, or read this for the first time. And I think that was brilliant that Bruce was doing that. And I think it was something that was very necessary to do as well with the book. And I suppose Bruce's journey, watching Bruce's journey wasn't altogether different from our own, really, in our experience of your work over the years. Mm-hmm. It was as exciting and as, I was going to say devastating, but no, that wouldn't be real. That wouldn't be true. But it was exciting to watch his highs and lows, and I and others would have experienced that as well on this journey, with your knowledge and information and with the book.
Oh, thank you so much. And everybody right now, Mary is nursing a broken shoulder. She broke her humerus bone. So we want to send her some love and peaceful and relaxing energy right as her face turns red in the imagery.
Does it? Oh, right.
It did. It actually, your whole face turned red, but that's from the camera, but it's fine.
Yeah, that's the light, Andrew.
That's the lighting, I know.
Yeah.
So everybody send her a little bit of loving energy so she can get through her recovery. It's going to be about 10 weeks or so before she can use her arm again.
Yes, and I've actually had a really good day today, and I've just shared this with you for anybody who breaks a bone. I bought Wiley fish oil and comfrey herb, and I have used both of those. Now, maybe that is a coincidence. I don't know. Are there coincidences? But I definitely have had a better day today. Like this time of night, I would have a lot of pain in it, but at the moment, I don't have any, so that's wonderful. So I'm able to sit here and talk to you.
All right, thanks a lot. So
Okay.
I'm going to answer some of the chat room questions. Somebody was asking before, how long did it take to write? Basically October to June, even though the third draft was done in the beginning of May, and the rest was minor stuff. So it could have come out in the end of May, but we had already set a deadline of June 15th. Just finished the part about agencies, finding it helpful and bringing new layers and concepts. Great, wonderful stuff there. From Lano, so far what I read was reinforcing what I already have learned from Andrew. Loved the introduction so far. Third person, great use of language, smart, and I can tell already the feel of it going forward is going to be new, unique, and a whole new genre. and a much more open, needed direction of evolution of spiritual study. So we've got a wide variety of people responding here. So Martina, let's bring you front and center here, the grand mistress of transcription and artwork.
Thank you very much. Yeah, well, doing the shit work, right? The transcription.
No, you were
Oh,
Martina,
Ma.
you were
No.
intertwined with this. Yes.
I just want to say, I've called that divinely, what's what? Divinely orchestrated. This whole book from the very beginning, because it's so interesting. When we discussed in October to do that, I actually had no idea that Monty had already introduced Bruce, because Bruce was interested in writing something. And you never told me that either.
I did. You just don't remember it.
No, you don't say that. You never told me that. But I'm actually grateful you didn't, because it just makes me realize, no, you said you always wanted to write a book. I didn't know you already had a guy to do it. And
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you
okay.
didn't tell me that. But that was so cool, because I'm really, really grateful for that, because it all came together. And for me, from a personal perspective, look, I mean, you guys know that material, yeah? Lots of the material that we put together into the script was also from the shows that we've done over the year, yeah? Yep. Because it was such profound information. And this is what I love about this book. There is a conglomerate of all different subject matters that actually it's a completely spiritual, what do you call it? You take the book and you learn about something, about everything, you know, a little bit about everything. You know what I mean? That gives you then an entry into wanting more. Then, of course, I wasn't, you know, we were, you know, the material, but then when Bruce came in, and this was very interesting, because he has, as a technical writer, I don't even know what a technical writer is. It was interesting because of his understanding of esoteric matters, the way he put it into context was quite challenging to a certain extent, because he basically took the script, guys, and it just got completely, everything was just picked pieces and brought it all together in a different context. And that was unique. I would have never thought of doing it that way. If I would have, published it, it would have been more like a teaching manual. But with the different context, it really made it, it opened it up to a much wider audience. And that's why it was so interesting for all of us, being aware of Andrew's material over the years. It was challenging to read it and to read it again and to really understand it in a new way. So the contribution of having Bruce write it was tremendous, really, to look at it from a different perspective, from a different context. Now, from a personal perspective, and I just want to really, I'm very grateful for that, because, you know, I got out of corporate 2008, where I was working with lots and lots of people. This was a project where we worked as a team.
Right.
And it's priceless. You know, everyone comes in with their own gifts, their own knowingness, and then it all falls into place. Everyone says something else, and that triggers another inspiration. And that teamwork, this book is a teamwork of all of us. Taking, of course, without Andrew, we couldn't have done anything, you know, that goes without saying almost, you know, but putting it together as a team has been, for me, challenging on many levels and most rewarding. And I really do hope that you're getting a lot out of it, just as much as we got out of it, putting it together for you guys.
Oh, thank you so much. And that teamwork, that's the je ne sais quoi of what came together to the finality of what's in your hands right now for people that have the book in their hands. That's something special. Bruce, you and I talked about that how this teamwork was unique before too.
Yeah, I think we incidentally disproved Robert Nash's governing dynamics theory.
Hell
I knew you'd get that. I knew
Yeah.
you'd get that. Yeah. Yeah, we did actually. We did. Go back and watch A Beautiful Mind, folks. Beginning of the modern economic system, actually, mathematically.
Yes. So we're at a point where we've had lots of people talk about the book, and we've got Bruce and Monty left to finish their. I'm sorry, Dave. Where is Dave? Are you there, Dave?
I'm here.
Okay, Dave. Why don't you give your perception next to your pink moon?
I came in January after, I think, about when Bruce came in and they said, "Hey, do you want to be involved in this?" I said, sure, why not? I'd been, following Andrew since 2014, a mentorship student, and was familiar with the material. And what Martina was alluding to, Bruce's use of GitHub, to start with as a technical writer, and taking all these pieces and having them out there. And it was like, all right, now what's the master plan to put all these together in a story? Because like others have said, it's all about the question. And like when you start listening to Andrew, whenever, the questions are all over the place. This book was like a handbook. It's like, here's the guide now to, what I've been studying for, 7 years now. And it really spoke to me, and I think it'll speak to humanity, as far as what this does. And you talk about, 1 degree of separation. As this gets out there and the degrees of separation, what you're releasing in consciousness is truly incredible. I'm happy to be a part of this. And Martina's drawings, Martina and I had talked for a while. I always saw she draws and she doesn't know what she's drawing. And when she shows them me, I say, "Oh, this is what it is." And that, so it was it was fun trying to pull those together and see what corresponded with the material. But, working with everyone, Mary, Martina, and Laura, who did the mentorship with. It was always good hanging with them and going over the material. And just thank you for including me.
Wonderful. What were some of your experiences watching Bruce absorb the material and go through the stages of absorption?
Well, you could tell that he had a solid background in spiritual matters. I think he, had gone to India, studied in an ashram, and he was well grounded. But and then you look at it and hear it, and he, put it out there. We'd discuss it. He'd absorb it. He'd change it. Come back, and by the third draft, he had your voice. He had captured that. Mm-hmm. So that it was, it was that his writing, style with your voice in a very, in a handbook. I joked before that, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, this is the, the master class, the master handbook of how you handle reality, the hologram and that.
This is the equivalent of the Davos handbook, Universal Davos.
I always compare, Kurt Vonnegut, because, it was some of his writing that started me thinking in this way, back in high school and that, and how, quantum theory and that, as you put it into the writing, changes how you look at the world. And it's, been evolving since then. And,
did we lose you? I think we lost Dave there for a second. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you
loud and clear.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Dave's bars went red and he's frozen, so I think the connection's gone. That's enough. So
all right, so let's bring over Bruce now. Dave will be back whenever he does. Bruce, you've heard everybody talk about their perceptions. We still got Monty over there, but why don't you give your view of what it was like so people could have an understanding, and then we're going to open up to questions from the audience.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I'm ready to talk about this yet, actually. I'll give you my best go of it. Okay. So, probably the most challenging project I've ever worked on in my life, creative, technical, or anything in between. Very, very challenging project. So there's a couple ways I can look at this. I can look at it from my 25-year background as a technical writer in software and telecommunications for the most part. So what a technical writer does, folks, if you don't know, is they work inside a company that has to communicate technically with the public. And so we take all of the data from the engineers, the architects, and the project managers, which we call technical and functional specifications and architecture blueprint, things like this. And we prepare everything that the end user is going to need: installation, configuration, use and utility of the application, whatever it is. It's highly complex writing written for the general public, depending on who the general public is. When you're writing, it could be a class of engineer, and you're never going to really hit the public. So when I came in, basically I was given these esoteric specifications. So there was the Q document, and then I asked for more. I wanted to read all the seminars, and then I asked for about 12 hours of interviews from 2013 onward to be transcribed. So basically, I think I processed somewhere around 300,000 words in terms of reading and contemplating its utility for the book. The book itself came in at about 75,000 words, which is a good length for a book like this. Now, everything that happened between what I just described to you and what you may or may not be holding in your hands now, I'm not ready to speak about. It just happened. Let's put it that way. I don't know how. It just happened. I can't think about it.
Well, it actually happened 3 times. First draft, second draft, third draft.
Do you remember my money line between the second and the third draft?
Yeah.
Spicoli.
Yep.
Tell the audience.
Go ahead. Finish it.
So if you've ever seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High, we were done the second draft, and it just wasn't coming together the way we wanted it. It didn't have any kind of, like, what I would call binding energy. And but I'd given it a lot of thought, and I had the third draft in my head, but I really just needed to go away and do this one. And then I did that final third draft, which was in about a month, and that was just touching up. And so but
it was bringing the beauty. It was really about bringing the beauty back.
Yeah, to take it from just sort of data into something that was more fully formed. But the line I said to Andrew was from Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Don't worry, my old man's a TV repairman. I can fix it.
They can fix anything. His old man is a TV repairman.
So yeah, it was just an incredible journey. I remember at the beginning, Andrew, we had countless meetings about structure, and I said, look, the only way I can see to write this is in an epigrammatic way, with something like the Tao Te Ching, a series of short chapters, because you could take almost any chapter in this book and spin it off into a 75,000 word product on its own if you wanted to go into more detail. That's how densely this book is put together at an information and overview perspective of planet Earth and our role here on it over 55 million years. The scope of the storytelling is mind-boggling, and attempting to hold it together with any kind of the slightest bit of dramatic tension was the most difficult part of the whole book. And of course, the material itself is the end of dramatic tension. So that you got to factor that in as well. So how do you capture that dramatically? So it was a literary oxymoron. And the book itself, I'd say, people say you have to read it a number of times. I'd say read it, and then you'll be picking it up and reading chapters here and there for the rest of your life, like any kind of source book you go to for clarity, to ask questions, or for inspiration. It really is. It ended up being a sutra in the classic Indian definition. It really ended up being a kind of a sutra on time.
So as you were absorbing the material for me, you and I talked about this before about how consistent my material was and how much that shocked you, which led you into a different view of how the material is flowing.
Yeah, there's no narrative flaws over 10 years. Well, let's say about 8 years from 2013, from Mount Shasta onward. There's no contradiction. And as a technical writer and as a creative writer, you become absorbed in narrative, right? And one of the things you become very attuned to is flawed narrative. So the global narrative is profoundly flawed right now. This is what the governing system foists upon us, and just about everyone's realizing now. It's a flawed narrative now. It's like continuity editor. The continuity editor got drunk on Game of Thrones, and people are showing up in the same scenes with different wardrobe. There is no continuity errors in what Andrew was saying, and the scope of it and the enormity of it is incredible. Another thing I found interesting about the material, this is my relationship to the material, not my work on the Galactic Historian, the book, but it's the most organic from the roots up material I've ever encountered in my life. And that's a very important thing, especially now, because a lot of the systems of spiritual inquiry now are either closed off from multidimensional experience, or you go into the multidimensional experience and it's very hard to get regrounded into the earth and find what your purpose in this incarnation is. You become a drifter, a snowflake, pathetically detached cosmic tragedy is what I would call a lot of these people now. And this book, it operated in a very holistic way. I started to understand myself more as something with roots in the earth, but with my consciousness going right back to the source of creation. And I'd never had that presented to me before as an option, that it could all be one living experience. The Eastern paths are just basically saying this is all Maya and craziness, get the hell out of here. And they're really evacuation programs. And in the West, our religions are mainly about holding the line, no matter how painful. And there's nothing in the middle that just sort of ties it all together, the human psychic and spiritual experience as a unified living experience. Andrew's material does that. And I think it's because, in my opinion, some of the training he received to ground his consciousness as an Akashic record reader came from the native communities, in North America, specifically the Iroquois Confederacy. And although I grew up with this, I had no idea how spiritually rich it was. As a Canadian, I had developed a little bit of a callousness towards it because, well, for various, if there's any Canadians out there, you'll know what I mean. I won't go into it any further, but this just sort of revivified everything for me. And then once that happened, I just saw everything in a completely different way. So the book, digesting the book, The Galactic Historian, is a process that is ongoing for me. It's a very profound experience. And I think it turned out really phenomenally well.
I remember the day you and I came up with this next concept where you said it's now the literal metaphor.
Yeah. So basically, one of the things that we tried to do in this book was we tried to show the unity between mythology and the living daily reality, because the Industrial Revolution has completely separated us from meaningful interaction with our inner life, which some people might call imagination. And that's fine, but it's either self-created imagination by your desires, or it's object information coming in from other beings and planes of existence. And threading through consciousness and figuring out what is the basis of all spiritual work. Whether it's yoga, prayer, meditation, or whatever, that's basically what we're all trying to do. And this material does it very well and in a very timely way. Also explains timelines and how time is explained more deeply than anything else on the planet right now in this book, from a spiritual perspective. That's why I sometimes refer to it as a sutra on time. And time and karma are something that you really have to understand if you want to release your consciousness from the lower realms and travel further into the light-based reality that we're capable of accessing. You really have to get this stuff all worked out. So very proud to have been a part of this project. It's been extraordinarily transformative for me.
Well, extraordinary, transformative for me, myself, and I'm sure everyone that's reading the book, everyone that's a part of it. Thank you very much, Bruce. That's some powerful words. So I'm going to bring Monty in now. Monty, what would you like to share about your experience with the book?
Well, I feel like Gandalf in a way as a wizard, orchestrating. Bruce, Andrew, sit back and just let it unfold. So there was that, and I knew it was being written and hearing about this group working, and so I was just waiting for the end product basically. And then Bruce gave me it was the third draft, wasn't it, or
Second draft.
Second draft. Yeah.
Second draft, yeah. I've only read it once, and I'm waiting. I'm going to get a copy of the book so it's complete. So it's probably 10% different, or headings have changed. But reading the book, it's everything you've heard before. Challenging. It's wonderful. It does tap into like the God spark of there's that the knowingness. There's like your higher self. It's like told you. You sort of intuitive know the information from long ago, and it's like remember this. That's what I like about we're not learning how to live on Earth. We're remembering how to live on Earth because we've gone through this so many times, and so there was an element of that. And I didn't speed read it, but I didn't stop reading it because it just flows. The energy of it is fantastic. Where and the way that Bruce works in his writing. It's not a story, but there's the element of a story. It's got the flow of, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. Even with Andrew's information, it's like you're having your mind blown, but there's this through line that makes sense all the way through. I after finishing it, I was like, I'll probably need to read this 6 or 7 times. Just to absorb the information, where you could probably read it once, as I said, like a zip file. And then, as Bruce pointed out, you probably just do catch-ups as things appear. And what I found, one thing that I did find interesting was after reading the book, you watch any video of Andrew that's been done in the last 8 years, I felt like Captain America from the Avengers. Oh, I get that reference. Because Andrew's been using the same terminology, but it's all collected in. And I think Dave said like it's like a handbook. And so it doesn't matter if you've been with Andrew for 8 years. This book is new in a way and reinforces everything. And if you never heard of Andrew at all and start with this book, it's not a better way, but it's an interesting journey compared to it's not easier. But help me out, Andrew. What's the word I'm looking for here?
The word you're looking for here is unique expression of divine literature that is there to expand and expound you, all for an easy price at Amazon.com.
Yeah. See, well, that's not really a word. It's more of a sentence.
I had to put my shameless self-promotion in here.
Yeah, well,
everyone, this
really? Is that why we're doing a show?
Yeah, that's why we're doing a show.
Yeah.
So, Robert, could you put up the Amazon link there too?
Yeah. But that's what, like, watching stuff like if you watch like your Galactic History, the 1.0, because the way that this is, that meme of the guy that's freaking out, like the conspiracy theory with all the notepads and then the string and everything else like that. This book sort of ties everything together in, I hate this language, not a simple way, but an easier way of absorbing the information. And then when you look at your previous videos where you expand on something or you say a certain phrase, you've got the knowledge from the book and it just expands even more. So in a way, it's a good paradox. Does that make sense?
Yes, it's a positive paradox.
And easing into the material, easing people into Andrew's material, something like that. And there's something else I want to point out. This is the first and only book I've ever read that gives you an understanding of entangled and unentangled. Entangled and unentangled observer. Yeah, it's very, very different to what anything is being defined as implicate and explicate. Look out for that, guys. It's brilliantly, and Bruce, he took what we put together, because that's completely new material to explain implicate and explicate, and actually take it beyond to really get an understanding of that. And that's really beautifully coming through here. And this, as I think Bruce and Monty said it already, the timeline paradox is such a difficult concept to understand, and it's beautifully made it easier. I'm also lacking the words here. Just clarified it, much easier to understand. So there are certain things in this book that you haven't heard before, and it's beautifully written into it. So look out for that.
Yeah, accessible. Like I pause with saying like simple or easy, and mainly because of the way that the global narrative has turned those words into a negative. But these are actuals, like you say, if they're a simple person, it's a positive thing. They make you make everything just like A, B, and C instead of being a complex person. But if you say that's a simple person, they think that they're dumb, and how the language plays like that. I'll add one more thing is now I'm going to have fun. Apart from Bruce, Andrew, and I are all waiting to see what the reaction is of the global narrative, and it's fantastic to see people who like the book. Be interesting to see how people who have a different response. So it's our inner comedians are going, this will be fun. But I'm going to not bombard, but anyone that's going to talk about spirituality or astrology or anything in this world is, to misquote Joe Rogan, it's like, oh, cool, bro, but have you tried DMT? Mine is, oh, cool, have you read this book? The Galactic Historian, the world according to Andrew Bartzis. Because if you think that Mercury in retrograde is going to blow your mind, you should read this book. So that's my marketing strategy, just to freak people out. And who knows if they read it or not, but I'm a comedian. I have to do things comedically.
Yes. And if you're one of those people that your Mercury is forever in retrograde, this book is for you.
Yep. You realize that take it out of reverse and you can put it into fifth.
It's embodied spirituality. Yeah. So it's not just to take off ascending. It's actually assisting you to look at that process on your path. And at the same time, it's totally grounding you. And that's truly unique. There is no other book out there that gives you the sense of what does spiritual ascension actually mean. It really eases you into the path of multi-dimensional, multi-universal citizen, right?
It in a way, it's like a simple way of saying it is like, if you got questions about life, this book will answer that question. Of course, you'll have 4,000 questions after that, but that's up to you. That's sort of how, what's the meaning of life? And in a way, the book explains what the meaning of life is, but that's not the end. That's just the beginning. It's like, when people say, oh, people need to wake up, there's an awakening. You're just thinking politically. I do a comedy show with the Galactic Historian. You haven't even answered the first % of waking up. There is so much more. And if you read the book, and you'll understand what I mean, because Andrew puts it in a framework that allows you. How's the best way of describing it? Like, say with religions, it's like it's this or that, but Andrew's framework is like anything can happen, but it's in this sandbox, which is based in truth of what actually is going on.
And that little sandbox is what you got to understand to spread out your spiritual wings.
Yeah, and like the 3D box is about this big, but it's also 13 sandboxes up, and it goes wide. And I'm not even getting into timelines yet.
That's a lot of sandboxes.
Yeah, exactly.
And not to any spoiler or anything, but when you're reading the book, take interest wherever it says birthright and legacy, because those are powerful teachings and powerful things that you can use in your own practices that are woven throughout the book.
And, it's a challenge to the reader. it's a book of personal freedom. It's a book of self-mastery. If you read it and you want to follow that celestial medium path or the self-mastery work, it's all there. It is a book that sets you free.
Yeah.
Freedom.
It's a handbook.
Freedom.
Handbook to a certain extent, and also it leads you back to simplicity. So the reason why we've chosen the simple approach for the cover and everything, and keeping it in black and white and everything, because embodied spirituality can be supposed to be simple, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Supposed to be simple. It's because we innately are all of that. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of energy when you read this stuff. There's a lot of energy that is written between the lines.
Yeah.
So look out for that.
And also, the cover allows you to color it in any way you like as well. That's the comedic. My comedic brain says like, oh, that's like one of those adult coloring books. But you can. We're all the same, but completely unique. So you can color in the book. Just saying, Oh, you laugh now, but you'll get a pencil later on. Like, oh, this bit's purple.
Andrew, you should sell it with a little pack of, colorful pens.
There we go.
If nobody likes the text, maybe they like pictures.
They could color in the pictures. And if anyone does color in their pictures, please send us some of the colored in artwork.
Absolutely, yes.
And use Sharpie pens for the glossy cover.
Yes, Sharpie pens for the glossy cover. All right, so we're going to open it up to callers right now. So for those of you that are in the Zoom room, you can click raise your hand. Raise your hand, and you'll be able to have conversation with us. Now, this is not about private readings. This is about the book. If you already have the book, have read some of it, want to talk about it, or just your basic experience with it, this is the opportunity now. If you are not in the Zoom room and want to be a part of the selection of people who are going to be calling in, Robert has all the information right there. Go to zoom.us, meeting number 911-001-1974, the passcode 457-500. All right, we've got some hands that are raised and a bunch of other people that are chicken shits. Because, I
love your marketing style.
Yes.
Buy my book or I'll punch you.
Exactly. There, we got a few more hands added to call it chicken shit. There we go. Got to call what it is. It is. All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who's first.
Hey, first person that got their hand raised, Cusatino, you're getting a signal.
Cusatino, are you there?
Hello.
Hello. Hi, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Bali, Indonesia, sir.
Bali, Indonesia. Welcome to the show. Have you been able to get a copy of the book yet?
Not yet, sir. I'm trying to get to you guys for the last 3 years. I never get through even to a call. But anyway, it's a pleasure just to listen to you guys. And anyway, the book, I love to get it, but I haven't get the book yet because I don't think so. We find in Indonesia, we have to order online, I think. But I will find more information about the book, how to get it.
Oh, so what is about my material has captured you? What does it make you want to study it?
Pretty much everything on the book. Just to give you guys, normally I don't read books. I don't read it. This is where my nature. But since I've been following you for 3 years, I'm starting reading books. And this book, I just catch up you guys in the middle. So I love to get it. I think pretty much everything from what you guys talking about, I love about it. So I would love to read it and know more about it for myself.
Yeah.
I think for myself, what do you call it, knowing myself and what's happening.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of powerful. All right, thanks a lot for calling. We're going to move on to the next
You're
caller.
welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who is next.
Kevin Kavanaugh.
Kevin Kavanaugh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi, Kevin. Where are you calling from?
Jackman, Maine.
Jackman, Maine. Welcome to the show. So, you have a copy of the book yet?
It's on order. I ordered it yesterday.
Wonderful. What do you think about so far of what you've heard about the book?
Actually, I only heard about the book when I got the email notice that it was available. So I went on and ordered it.
Wonderful. Well, you're about to have your mind blown once it gets to you.
Well, that's what I'm waiting for.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling. And we're going to move on to the next caller.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who's next.
Jay Sheck, signal to unmute.
Jay Sheck, are you there?
I am here.
Hi, where are you calling from?
Bluebell, Pennsylvania.
Bluebell, Pennsylvania. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I have started reading the book and I am up to karma.
Ooh.
And I have to say that I started a little bit backwards with you by starting to listen last August. And I am just blown away by the first 30 some pages that I have read. I can't thank you enough for putting this information out in print for us all to absorb and expand on. And I really look forward to sitting down and really just soaking it all in.
What kind of frequency or vibration are you feeling it as you're reading it?
A very, very high vibrational frequency, and that I am carrying throughout my day. And, you know, with everything that's gone on for the last year and a half and all the ups and downs and all the craziness, this is like a light at the end of the tunnel for me.
Get off the never-ending train. Here you go. Here's your stop.
There you go.
So what did you think? What did you think of the opening chapter?
I thought it was mind-blowing. I'll admit I had to read it very slowly, and I had to go back and reread certain parts of it. But I find it just this is exactly what I needed at exactly this time.
Beautiful. We all had our own, hiccups and road bumps with that opening chapter, pacing, voice, a depthness, all of that. But we knew when we got that third draft done that opening chapter was just going to be just right.
It's perfect, and I absolutely love the part about procreation and our parts in it. Just as simple as something as creating by gardening, because I'm a quilter, and it just something like that. I had never really thought about it before as my contribution. Really powerful, very powerful. And I thank you all very, very much.
Well, thanks a lot for calling in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Robert, we've got some more calls. Let's take the next caller.
This Hessman kid's reading it. He's got the picture of him.
Yeah, no, very subtle pick. I love that.
Sean, you're up.
Sean, are you there?
I almost missed my chance because I was reading the book.
How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking. How are you guys?
Great. How far into the book are you?
I am at page 25, where it says story, and it's been really exciting. I started yesterday when I got it. I actually went to the park and laid down in the sun and physically held it in my hands, which is unusual for me. I usually digitize stuff. I actually had a question.
Shoot, what's the question?
So you talk about the speed of light being a constant or like having a maximum. I think I had recently come to the idea just within the last couple of years. I couldn't remember if it was you or somebody else that was part of the global narrative, and that the speed of light was actually much more variable than that.
No, the speed of light, they're not calculating consciousness as part of the speed of light.
Okay.
And is there light that does not have consciousness in it? That's a whole different philosophical debate and argument.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the speed of light is only relative to the people in this narrative.
Oh, gotcha.
Therefore, the speed of light has no limitations to it.
Nice.
And we are told 186,000 feet per second miles per second is the speed of light.
All right. That makes so much.
How do we prove that?
By
though science has said they can prove it, how do we really prove it?
Right.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay.
And
because consciousness is a part of it.
Totally.
And that's why superluminal thinking, meaning you can think faster than the speed of chemicals and think faster than the speed of light.
Totally. Like if you can teleport to another galaxy, then you're thinking faster than the speed of light.
Well, you wouldn't even be teleporting. It'd be an instantaneous expression.
Nice.
Yeah.
And also I'm really grateful for Martina's description about the process, because that actually gave me like a much like deeper, more intimate feeling of the book itself as a living entity, like feeling all of your individual like co-creative contributions to the book and the process.
Maybe I can say something to that actually, because it was really, really interesting how the book from the very beginning took on its own consciousness. And I remember we were having these conversations, how for me it was a she, yeah, the energy of the book,
Nice.
the consciousness. And she facilitated every single one of us. It was amazing. It was amazing, the visuals that I speak for myself here, that the visuals that I had, you know, sitting around the fire, and she was just watching us, how we were falling over and, you know, having all these different sort of experiences. And when I look at her now, she's very regal, and I don't want to call it happy, but more like complete in a way, you know, saying, okay, now it's out there. And now I'm going to start facilitating the shit out of everyone who's reading it.
It's beautiful, because now you gave me the image of like, while you all were beautifully doing this loving work of co-creation, she was doing a loving co-creation right back with you.
Oh, totally.
Oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And also, before I get kicked off, Andrew, when I got to the literal metaphor line, I laughed out loud really hard. I thought that was really clever and funny.
It is. And there's some other irony and comedy in there that what I call Bruce's joke grenades. They have a delayed reaction, and you'll get it like 10 pages later, and you go back, huh?
Yeah, it's drier than Faulty Towers. You really have to be paying attention.
The Titus irony one was really, really good.
All right, and Bruce, I was so excited when you told me there was a book coming, and I was like, oh my god, that's going to be so long. But then like I actually didn't have long to wait at all, which was also exciting.
Yeah. Well, enjoy it, and you'll be picking it up and reading chapters for the rest of your life. I think once you get to work, it just stays with you, and it's got nothing to do with whatever else you're doing in your life. I mean, if you're on a spiritual path, this is for everybody who's concerned about consciousness. Everybody, including atheists and agnostics.
That's right.
Yeah,
there was somebody.
That's
in the
what
chat.
I like about it, Sean. The absolute openness of this book to readdress the entire concept of spirituality without any prejudice.
Yeah. And I got that immediately, and which is why somebody in the chat room asked, can a newbie read this? And I was like, yes, absolutely. Like a beginner can read this.
And you'll become an advanced very fast. You won't be a newbie at the end of this book. You'll be an advancee.
It's like a baby pool that you can go to the deep end if you want. It's like right there where you can.
This baby pool is a multi-dimensional baby pool. It's a baby pool and an adult pool at the same time. Don't worry.
Levels, Jerry. Levels.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a question when I can slip in when you want it asked.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just wondering because I don't know. No one's sort of mentioned it, but it's in the back of my mind. By releasing the book, Andrew, if people, why was it allowed to happen? Obviously, it was supposed to happen, but I'm just wondering, are there parts of consciousness going, wait, they did what? You know, is there any sort of anything on your radar sensing of someone slightly a bit miffed that this book's come out?
There are many pagers that are ringing. These are very much older school aliens that forgot they even had pagers and still use AOL emails. Okay,
just got to carry a pigeon for you, sir. Yeah.
Exactly. So they're a bit miffed that they didn't notice it earlier. But Bruce and I had a conversation the other day, and it came up. He came up with the word mandated, and I agree. Where you had a mandate to write this.
So
yeah,
to answer your question, Monty, my answer would be, yeah, it's definitely a sucker fake first a long time ago. Did that not come through?
No, you broke
up.
No,
you broke up.
Oh, that was my best joke of the show. I'm not repeating it. You missed the funniest joke ever. I'm not repeating it.
Bruce, just say the punchline.
I said, Monty, yes, you're right. It is a sucker punch, but the other side abandoned Marcus of Queensberry a long time ago.
Yeah. So this is where, like, the element that I think everyone on the call is, we're releasing this information out into the world, and we're going to watch the response in a comedic way, because it's like, did you see this guy? He really freaked out because the book exists, and it's one way of dealing. Instead of like, oh my God, I'm offended that you don't like my book, it's more of like, haha, you really don't like this, do you?
Well, there will be definitely some kerfuffled feathers spread throughout the communities. And how kerfuffled they remain will be up to their own charge and polarity. And
a lot of gratitude too, I think.
Yeah.
Andrew. Yeah.
Overwhelmingly, it's going to be it's a force of good, and it's, as I said earlier, it's going to answer a lot of people's questions, but like when you talk to normal enlightened masters, I have a question. Okay, what is it? Blah blah blah. Oh, here's the answer, and then 4,000 questions just follow up. Like, well, what do you mean by that? And it's going to knock people onto a path of discovery.
Exactly. All right, Sean, thanks a lot for calling, and we're going to move on to the next caller.
Thanks, Sean.
I do have one more quick thought.
Sure, go ahead.
Brilliant question, Monty. And my thought is that it's kind of like a numbers game. Like, I feel like there's brilliant ideas all the time that can get snuffed out, but there's enough numbers. Like, Andrew has a long enough body of work, like in the lifetimes, and then in just the last decades, and also plus whatever the algorithm equation is, the number of people who have been directly influenced by Andrew's work and the people who were influenced by it. And then that gives a certain amount of like momentum to like break through the global narrative.
Well, that is why I've empowered everyone with spiritual wooden spoons and brick and little bricks for their purses. Okay. And for those of you that didn't catch the reference, there was a show in which I used a wooden spoon on a very negative entity for an extended period of time and humiliated it with a wooden spoon. And there was another situation where a lady called in and she was experiencing entities over and over and over again. And I brought her through this guided meditation where she had a spiritual Gucci purse with a golden brick in it. And I said, hit the demon in the head with it. And she did. And I'm like, do it again. Does that feel good? Yes. Now, anything that comes within your aura, you have a Gucci purse with a golden brick in it. Hit it in the head.
Yeah.
Okay?
I just had an idea for marketing. You could sell the book with a pair of Greek sandals, and you get that ninja grandma thing going on.
Well, it empowered a whole bunch of grandmas with a whole bunch of purses and a whole bunch of golden bricks, and that show spread wide and far and brought a whole new unique audience in because I gave somebody the tool of a spiritual purse with a golden brick in it.
Nice.
Okay, and they had to believe it in themselves, but it helped that woman in that moment. She kicked the crap out of all of the negative entities that are around her.
I remember that. That was great.
Okay. All right, Sean, thanks for calling. We're gonna
thank you all so much. I'm loving the book.
Okay. All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who is next.
Irna Eismont.
Irna Eismont, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Arizona.
Arizona. And, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And I want to say it's so nice to see all your faces in one show. I'm listening to your programs for all time already, like from 2013. And see all of you together now, smiling, presenting this work, just incredible. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Do you have the book yet?
I ordered it. It's coming.
The energy is on its way for you.
Yeah. When I heard about this book is coming, you're going to print this book and give it to the world, I was like, whoa, how he's going to put everything in one book in less than 300 words? And it was like, whoa, it's a huge work. Now listening to you presenting how you did it, it's just great. Yes, of course, questions, answers, accumulating of information, opening, seeing layers of information. So I'm looking forward to have it in my hands, because lately anything you take in your hands, you start to read, it's like, oh no, bullshit, or no, bullshit. And you can't continue. A lot of books like that now.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to have that book in my hands and listen your voices in my head and recognize your thoughts, recognize your inputs, and just celebrate this opening into world, into consciousness, into universe, who we are and where we are today and what we are doing with our experience. Thank you again.
You're so welcome. Thanks a lot for calling in.
Muchas gracias.
I have a quick question for you, Andrew, to sort of
Sure.
follow up. Would you recommend, now it's free will, but would you recommend people buying the physical book? Because when you actually have the physical book, it is a different experience energetically than just reading it on a screen, isn't it?
The answer is yes. That's why it's only out as a physical book right now.
Okay. Well, see,
People
this is
are
why
asking-
I miss a couple of marketing meetings, and yeah.
So one of the reasons we did not release a digital copy is because we're going to do what's called an augmented reality ebook, where we're going to have video, pictures, interviews, things integrated into the whole reading the book process, as well as the book can be read to you or you can read it line for line. So it's going to be a multimedia format presentation.
Oh, cool. But still read the book first physically, because you're engrossed. It's there, and it's something physical, and then you'll be able to have that, which is the multimedia version of it, which is a different experience as well. But it is very unique to actually have the physical book in your hands, and of course you can color in the cover as well. So.
Exactly, you could color the color.
Do you know what, guys? It's part of the grounding experience. Yeah. It's just part of the grounding experience. I would almost go so far, don't read it just like, as a Kindle, or not even as a kid, just have it in your hands. It makes a complete different impact. And then, the other thing you can actually do, I mean, you're all familiar with the contract revocations. You can actually take, every single chapter here, or every single, specific topic, subject matter, and record it in your own voice. It's really powerful. I've actually done that. It really helped me to proofread it, and I'm loving it. And in your own voice, it's absolutely beautiful. So that's something to think of as well.
And as I've stated in many of my shows, reading things out for yourself when you're enunciated in that level as a giant helicopter's going by. Sorry about that, everyone.
They found you. They
found me. They found me, everyone. It's over.
Alex Jones was right.
Yes. And it's not even a black helicopter. It's a Channel 3 News helicopter.
They found you.
Yes, they found me. Channel 3 News. As they keep going and going and going. All right, thanks a lot for calling in. All right, Robert, let's move on to the next call.
Alrighty, iPhone de Adrian.
iPhone de Adrian, are you there?
Hi. You
Hi,
can hear me?
Yes, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from France.
France, do you have the book yet?
I have not the book, but I can ask a question.
Sure, go ahead.
I was thinking before the book arrived about all the books of history. I know the book is not about galactic history, but about teaching. but the books of history are in chronological order, and I was thinking what could be a book of galactic history, as you say it, as it's a lot about time paradox and things like that.
So when Bruce and I first started writing the book, from the Q document, that actual conversation came up, but that's when we really realized that the density of information is going to be nothing like the first book, and there'll be other books that come out. We've already talked about a second book, which is Living the Mystical Life Daily, as well as the Giants, and a variety of other topic matters that will fill out the historical references that our world has seen as truth and false. So right now it's understanding like every chapter can be expanded out to a 100,000 word book.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking also is as your book empower the people to be in the present and to be themselves, they access to the remembrance, and that's real also.
Yeah, well, it's the frequency inside the book that helps you maintain that high frequency, so you can begin emanating it on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing folks can do is you can buy a copy to donate to your local jail or prison. That would be a good book to read while you're concentrating.
Okay, I didn't hear, but okay, thank you very much for.
Thanks a lot for calling in.
Thank you.
All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel callers and see who is next.
Sean Bibby.
Sean, the man Bibby, are you there?
Hello, hey guys, I'm here.
How you doing so far? So how far have you gotten into the book?
Oh, I finished it last night.
Damn.
Yeah, I came so quickly. Thank you, Amazon.
So what was your experience like reading it?
Oh, it's just, kind of like a family member. Like you already kind of knew the material a little bit. It was just so enriching to have it all in one positive source at one time. It was a lot of fun.
Did you laugh anywhere? Did you laugh or cry anywhere?
I definitely giggled a little bit because like I just had the point where a few times I just had the point where like, this is fucking Star Wars. Like domination and control is going out and conquering world by world by world and forcing them to do what they want. And I was like, gosh damn, Empire.
Exactly. The Empire.
You and Monty are practically related.
Well, it was like
We
a
are the same
carbon
person.
copy of what was going on. And like couldn't help but laugh about that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, and I got to get the compliments out of the way. But Bruce, like literally in this book, you were the Jim Carrey in Jim and Andy playing Andrew Bartzis. Like
that movie ruined him. He was never the same after that movie. Do you know that I played pickup hockey with his best friend in Canada in like 2005? I was in the comics league, and so I know a lot about Jim Carrey, and that movie ruined him. But
for sure, because it's.
And
like,
I was going to say earlier to the
movie,
French caller. What I wanted to say to the French caller, but do I have a bad connection? Is there a delay? Oh, okay. What I wanted to say to the French caller was, when Andrew started talking about the subsequent books calling, the point I was going to add is, from a galactic perspective, there's no such thing as pacifism. I've been conscripted.
Mandated.
That was
mandated, like in Eagle Command.
Yeah, but that was specifically directed at the French caller. Never mind. Monty, do you get it? I guess you got to be Canadian.
Because really, what I mean is, like in that movie, Jim Carrey became the other person. And when I opened up the book, I was like, what the hell did Bruce write? Like you wrote it so well in the narrative of Andrew that you literally took on the spirit and the essence of the work. So bravo.
Well, thank you very much. So it's a little bit like method writing.
Method writing. Yeah. Well, there were definitely some method moments of your method acting writing.
Yeah.
Bruce discovered what intestinal clearing really means.
This book had a profound effect on my gut. I did about 6 times. complete 24-hour evacuations. I haven't experienced anything like that since India.
Oh gosh.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You did it right from your own home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wicked. Like there are some few other parts when I was giggling. Just like the cosmic joke of it all. Because I've been fortunate enough to just be reading some like Carlos Castaneda books right now and just
Yeah.
getting into them and loving it. And I'd love to just do a whole segment sometimes on different spiritual, like the spiritual lexicon of terms and how it changes from shaman to shaman and generation to generation.
Ironically, we had a lexicon of terms, but it was something we ended up having to take out, and it's something Laura put a lot of effort into, but it came down to the final page count.
Well, like, because that's it, because like I don't want to divulge too much into Carlos, but it's like the spirits got brought right into our first attention, like right into like our basic world, and that's why the lexicon doesn't work anymore, because the spirit's literally in every single word. So it's like, you know, you have to write another book on the back just to have a lexicon.
Well, that's what it turned out to be. The lexicon was its own book. Was it like 28,000 words?
Yeah. So when you write something and you do it well, if you use proprietary language, you have an obligation to explain it in the body of the text. So any term that comes up is self-explained in the book, right?
Well, absolutely.
And that, yeah, and that was a mandate I put on myself when we axed the appendix. I said it has a little technical insight for you. I'll stop there.
Yeah, I really
you could probably put the appendix up on your website as a PDF.
Yeah,
but
it's a web posting. Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
Because you did a really good job avoiding the unknowable, and you even put in a line like about not going down the rabbit holes that are completely unknowable, because it's just gonna be pointless and a waste of time. So that was a good bit.
So how long did it take for you to read?
Like 2.5 days. I'm not sure. It just came it came perfect because like my hose broke and then I ordered a new hose and then they just put the book in with it because the hose was already like
There you go, folks.
There you go,
that
hose. Bless that hose.
Yeah.
Bless that hose.
Yeah. So and I had some time, it just came on a good day where I didn't have class. So I just kind of burned through it and it was pretty dope.
Well,
Did
wonderful.
you dream, Sean? Did you have dreams after reading it?
Oh, sure. Like I've had dreams like every night for a long time, but I certainly had a vivid dream last night too. So yes. Lots of, especially narrating time travel wars. Like the time travel stuff is coming in pretty
So you've tuned into the PBS Galactic history documentary.
Yeah, non-stop.
Exactly. All right, Sean. Thanks a lot for calling in.
Yeah, thanks, guys. What a good job.
All right, wonderful. All right, Robert. Let's move on to the next caller.
All righty, Lise Phoenix.
Lise Phoenix, are you there?
Hello.
Hello. Where are you calling from?
Hi, South Africa.
Welcome to the show, South Africa.
Thank you. I'm so excited for getting picked.
You managed to get picked. How are you doing?
Yay, very good. I'm very excited to hear about this book because synchronistically, I saw this show coming up and my friend and I actually have been doing a lot of your contract revocations and clearings and stuff recently. And now I get this wonderful news that you captured it all in a book. So I'm fascinated with this. And what is for me interesting is your timing on the release of it. And everything that's happening in the world. Do you want to expand a bit on that?
Oh, we had lots of conversation in the background about book date, release time. Bruce is an extreme stickler on deadlines. And early on, I set the deadline of June 15th, okay? Which was after the first draft. Bruce had the first draft done in 2 weeks, the second draft done in 3 weeks, and then a week after that, or a week and a half after that, the third draft was done. But he was just piddling here and there with word structure and sentence structure here and there as he but the third draft was generally done by second week in February.
Okay.
Or third week in February. So could it have been released before that? Absolutely, it could have. But it needed its time to evolve into all of the people that were a part of it, the artwork to come together, and then Bruce needed to go nerd out into his layout of the book and how the layouts actually work, binding size, the color of the text, all of that, how dark it's going to be, and define the proper artistic aesthetic that was going to match the book.
Yeah.
So June 15th was just a deadline that I set, and I said it's not a hard deadline. It could be plus or minus a couple days, but we made it with 2 days to spare.
You see, wow, that's amazing what you created. And with the energies and the shifts we're experiencing now, it feels to me like it's kind of divinely timed, which is really awesome.
Hell yeah, it's divinely timed.
It says, I'm like Andrea he's got some inside knowledge here. It's not random. This is not random. But for those of us that are still away from getting the book because we need to order it to have it in our hands, would you like to maybe read an excerpt of some of maybe a little like a tease of something that you think is really interesting in the book?
I will, as we go forward, I'll be releasing little teases here and there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I will drip feed those out.
Oh, thank you.
There is a 50-second video that's on YouTube. No, the Facebook posts where it talks about time, don't you?
Yeah, Robert already has a couple already that are going up.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I will go look for that. But thank you so much. And yeah, looking forward to getting the book soon.
So how long have you been paying attention to my material for?
Well, quite a while. I think it was the last couple of years. It's just been like exponential things happening. But it was about 2 years ago. I think a year now. Must be last year somewhere. Yeah, I came across your stuff with a friend with contract revocations.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I read that, I'm like, nah, this guy, he's got something here. And then I started listening to a lot of your shows where you tune in. And with that and the kind of clarity I started getting on how it all fits together and how it's actually life can be so easy if you're not chained down. It set into motion a whole cataclysm of events, which I've been enjoying quite a lot. And it's been like a roller coaster. But the contract revocations and the insights that I've gained from you and from other synchronistic events in my life has really like catapulted a lot and made a big change. And now when you talk, I'm like, oh, I didn't get what you were saying earlier. The last time I listened to it, no, I didn't. Now I get it. And then at the same time, I also have the awareness that if I re-listen to it in a year from now, there's another layer again. So I'm quite enjoying your work. Thank you.
The book will do that layer upon layer. You could probably read the same chapter twice in a row and get something totally different from it. And then after a while, you could randomly open to any chapter and it will apply to whatever is going on in your reality.
I thought that much. I thought it was like arching type.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can actually just use it like that. And because your stuff seems to synchronistically come up at certain times.
Yeah, I've noticed. I have noticed that from the callers, the people that come around. Ironically, you came from the contract revocations, and there's many other people that come from the Galactic history videos, and other people who were part of the original Rev Radio crew. Then all the different places and spaces that I've been on. Some people from the New Earth Nation, yeah.
Yes, and then when one starts to listen to you and you kind of raise your perspective and you start kind of getting a glimpse into the whole pattern of everything, and then you're like, oh, then it's not that random after all. And I'm sure the same with what you're saying. I really get a lot in terms of what you're saying, the frequency of the book. And the intent that goes with it, and that it actually does carry that consciousness, and then works like similar way that a plant teacher would maybe work with a person.
Yes.
Where the consciousness interacts and teaches you what you need to learn when you do need to learn it.
Yes,
So I'm
very
like
good.
super excited about this.
Very good association that the book is like a plant medicine. You will get what you need out of it. And the medicine is in the ink and in the words, which help you bypass chemical memory, which is something we talk about in the book. What is normal experience is us in the chemical body experience, and what is superluminal memory or light-based memories. And light-based memories have so much more clarity and in-depthness behind them.
Yes, and I am synchronistically in the middle of your second part of that expansion of consciousness, orchestra of consciousness, where you were actually talking about quite the same thing, about the super liminal thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then that whole picture just tied together for me. And now when you mentioned the book, I'm like, yes, that's like a teacher that works with your consciousness.
Yeah.
And the next layer of information you get, your consciousness grows, and the teacher can now become a high school teacher and a university teacher instead of a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah.
So the same teacher teaches you different things at different levels.
Exactly. They all dovetail back and forth into each other. And the Orchestra of Consciousness shows that I did with Martino, those were, I remember finishing going, my God, that's one of the highest frequency shows I've ever done. And the same thing with the agency shows too, and which are a significant portion of the book.
Yeah, yes. Like when you speak, I am super excited about this book. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Martina, is there anything you wanted to add on Orchestra of Consciousness or the agency's shows?
Yeah, if you enjoyed those shows, just wait until you read the book. It's quite interesting how you can even expand on that, you know, and just by adding a slightly different context, like again, what Bruce did, slightly different context, and it's like, whoa, different truths. As soon as you change the context, there's a different truth coming through. It's like, oh shit, I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So just watch out for those then. You'll enjoy that. Have fun with it.
Oh, I am so excited about that, because a lot of what Andrew's shows do is what he does is he takes a chair and he moves your consciousness around the same chair. And from this side, it's pink. And from that side, it's not. It's the back of the chair. It's gray. And then you shift a little and you just see the same thing from all the different dimensions and perspectives. So, yeah, very excited about these books.
Well, we look forward to getting a copy into your hand and then you giving us some feedback too.
Thank you. I will definitely do that.
Thanks a lot for calling in.
Thank you.
All right, Robert, let's spin up our wheel of callers and see who is next.
Alrighty, Freyer, signal to unmute.
Freyer, are you there? Freyer.
Hello.
Hello, where are you calling from?
San Antonio.
Welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Pretty good. I read the Bruce Lee with a little dragon and a little dragon.
Did you just jump to that one? Did you jump to that one, or that's where you're at in the book?
Yeah, I jumped to that one. I felt like the way to to really lock things down, memorize things easier, is to choose what pulls out to you first.
Mm-hmm. That's we toiled over about putting in a section where all the chapters begin. I'm like, no, we got to do it for the people that are exactly like you. This called to me. This determines if I'm going to read this book or how I'm going to look at it. So what did you think?
Yeah.
What did you think of the Bruce Lee?
Well, it's amazing. You know, anyone that's a fan of Bruce Lee and they like what he did, just wait till you hear 5% more of what he did.
3%, man. The 3%,
yeah,
man.
just wait till you hear just a little bit more about him. And so it kind of caught me off guard here. My heart's beating a little faster.
Well, relax. You're here with friends.
Well, that sounds good. I was having a lot of things I felt like coming crashing down to me on my life, and then that book came out at the perfect time. And that's all I could think about. Now there's bills and there's job and there's all this other stuff, but it kept kind of just get the book. It's right there. Just get the book. And I knew what I think Sean said earlier. You want the physical book in your possession. You want to have that. You want to have the words.
The medicine.
And,
the medicine. Yeah. The medicine.
Because that's part of your possession, which becomes part of your reality. I mean, I guess having it physically, it just opens up new doors. You know, more expanded free will.
Yeah, it physically manifested as opposed to digitally, which is a conceptual manifestation.
Which is still part of the subject-object reality of the book.
Yeah.
And you can smell the book too. It's very hard to smell a Kindle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it smells like your Kindle.
What Monty said, what the Aussie said. Yeah.
And, you know, well, what was funny is I was starting to get frustrated. And I was like, well, where's the new Bible? Or, you know, I don't want to, you know, relate things to the Bible. There's so many emotions and feelings tied to that word. But I was just like, well, where's the new tablet, whatever, the stone, the, you know, so I'm excited to read the whole thing. Again, as soon as I got it, I had a lot of things to do. And the first thing that drew me to was a dragon. And I remember one of your episodes, you were like, we have a dragon online. Like, you know, there's a dragon here with us today. And then I heard a double over in the voice. And I thought like, oh, great. You have a dragon on and now you have your electronic equipment is messing up. I had no clue that was the dragon speaking.
There you go.
I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that.
Okay, so yeah, I remember I was high one time listening to it and it just tripped me out completely. I felt the energy, I felt the drag, I felt the spirit, I felt like how it was using the electronic equipment and the double over to speak. That was awesome.
I encounter dragons all the time, and when I called that particular dragon out, it wanted to be made aware of.
Yeah,
there's a dragon in this conversation. Actually, there's several dragons in this conversation right now, but they're all passively observing as unentangled observers.
Mm-hmm.
But at any moment in time, because you now have an awareness of them, you can still be an unentangled connection to them and begin to learn base form of what I'll just simply call the 1 million letter celestial alphabet. They'll become your encoding teachers.
Okay, and then this is the true fulfillment, correct?
Well, you have to be encoded to their level to function with them because they function at such a unique perspective that is not a part of the general human experience. They don't have lives like we do in any way, shape, or form. Their existence is almost eternal. They could live tens of thousands of millennia or longer, depending on what their particular role is. Okay, you know, the main role of dragons is to be celestial teachers and communicators to us, so that we have a direct link to the sentience of the planet. And what is their purpose? Is to teach us the celestial alphabet and the celestial purpose. For those that want to go on that grander journey of being celestial mediums, where you can commune with other places, spaces, and uniquenesses.
Okay, now some people have it either set up in their lifetime to see or witness maybe a UFO experience or a dragon or a ghost or things like that. I've had a very, honestly, I could say stable. None of that's happened to me, or I don't know about it. Like, so then...
I guarantee you have had them, you just didn't recognize them for what they were. Everyone's had them. Everyone's had them, you just didn't recognize them in the moment. It's like if you ever, you know, flew to New York City out of nowhere and got in a taxi. How do you know if the taxi's not taking you for an extra 2-mile ride or an extra $10 on the ticket? You don't. Okay. Okay, you don't, unless you're checking it on your phone now. Now, the next thing here to understand is this book is offering a colloquial now experience for you to perceive what's out there and what's not out there. Going to your edge of your unknowingness is a journey that all people on the spiritual path have to make. All right, this is where I'm out of my ego. I'm out of expectation. I'm out of those instant gratification frequencies that can parasympathetically drive people and allow the universe to commune with you, not necessarily through vision. Don't enforce a limitation. It has to be vision. A lot of people smell something first or taste something first and allow it to evolve like a comic storyboard or a graphic novel, where there's sections where it appears you're reading it, but you're learning verbally at the same time. And those new spiritual pathways that are opening up for you to have that unique experience in that moment of the now.
Okay. So I guess what it draws back to is a saying, surrender to the universe, maybe, or am I getting that wrong?
No, surrender is absolutely right. But surrender is a skill set.
Interesting. Okay, that's...
Yeah, I want to bring Laura on here for a second. So Laura had a very unique medicine journey with all the mentorship students were a part of a medicine journey we had taken in 2018. Yeah, it's 2018.
2018, yeah.
And she rode the Rainbow Bridge immediately. Okay. And you want to make a share because you crossed over in your unique belief system where it had that experience had radically changed you.
Yes.
Okay.
You want to share the experience, Laura?
Sure. Yes. Yeah, it really was phenomenal. And along with the normal sort of the way the trees sort of digitate and everything becomes very layered and depth. I could see the Native American villages forming and the trees were stepping forward, and there was a lot of activity going on. And then there was a bench at the bottom of the garden that was covered in rainbows. And I went and sat there for a while, and the trees spoke to me, and the dragons came out of the fire. So there were 2 or 3 dragons there as well. And
how did this start? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, how did it start?
Yeah, was it a hallucination? Is it a dream or?
No, we were on medicine. We were on ayahuasca.
Oh,
medicine.
Oh,
So
okay, the ayahuasca.
as far as I was concerned, I was living it, and I was living it.
Yeah, you were there.
Yes, I was there, but the whole thing formed around me, and everything just became so real and alive, and the trees spoke to me and called my name. And I thought everyone was having this experience. I didn't realize others weren't necessarily having this experience. So I was sort of wanting to tell them what was happening and discuss it with them. And of course, everyone sees different things or what they're meant to see. So in the end, I realized that I was there to build rainbow bridges. And so I spent the rest of the night, I think, much to Andrew's amusement, building and bringing in the
laying on her back and running, feet in the air, running for 4 hours. But she was giving us this narrative the entire time of who she was taking and what she was building, and just to watch her feet for 4 hours. And every now and then she'd pause, but it was just she was in her space, but fully communicating with us too.
Yeah. So that was a very, very long rainbow bridge, and I was very tired in the morning.
Well, that was 4 hours of air pedaling.
But I was walking that rainbow bridge. As far as I was concerned, I had to do it. Yeah. That's what I came for, as Andrew knows. That's what I came for, to create it.
That has to happen with an ayahuasca? Like it has to happen with a...
No, it doesn't.
A substance or...
It doesn't. That's what she needed in that moment. Okay. And that's what her medicine taught her, what she was ready for at her level of responsibility.
Well, you're familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza, right?
Oh, I know him quite well, yes.
Okay, when he talks about these giant beings, spiritual beings that sometimes come to his conferences or the things he holds, what are those? Like they help people heal in the audience.
So some of them are dragons. Some of them are higher dimensional collectives. Some are lower dimensional collectives. And not all lower dimensional collectives are bad. They're primal. And there are things in the primal realm that absolutely need to be a part of our modern technological realm. So we find a unique balance.
Okay.
So there's definitely those. And then there are the subsurface societies that don't want the negatives to control the farm anymore. but they're too afraid of challenging them because it will require a lot of people to die to make that power shift and that power change. And that's totally not within their moral code, but it is within their moral code to passively reach into the surface that has groups like Joe Dispenza, myself, other groups of beings, and make real presentations of themselves.
Okay, so I brought that up to get to this point. I was on an acid trip one time and I experienced something pretty unique and profound, but it wasn't under any kind of shamanistic ayahuasca or what we feel that, oh, this is the more natural way. And then we have Joe Dispenza that has these experiences completely sober, what it seems like, in his classes and his seminars. And so on my trip, the nighttime was just getting worse and worse. It's starting to become a really bad trip, and I was starting to lose grasp of my own reality, especially when I looked in the mirror. And then something hit me as soon as the daylight started to break. It's like the sun's gonna save me, the light from the sun. And then that was like a beautiful ascension. As the sun got, brighter and brighter, I just felt amazing. And this was for about 12 hours, maybe, or 8 hours. So did I do anything wrong? I mean,
no, you experienced the sun. You got the joyful, blissful
in the full
experience.
Okay.
But there was a part of you that was second guessing the experience as it was going, which is part of the dissociative side of LSD.
Okay.
So what side won as a memory? The coolness of the sun and all of the beautiful experience, or the negativity you just described?
I remember, I think, all of it pretty vividly, but I would much rather be in the sun side. And I remember just kind of sitting there in a backyard, and I felt like 5 or 6 white light beings behind me saying, or giving me that feeling of emotion, like, you can always come back here. And I'm just thinking, what,
the
with
answer
acid?
No, you get back there without the acid. I tell this to people all the time. Medicine is there when you're stuck. Medicine is not something you're supposed to do 20, 30 times in a lifetime. I know there's a lot of ayahuasca people listening right now, and I'm going to tell you right now, you shouldn't do ayahuasca more than 10 times in your life. If you need to do it 30, 60, 90, 120 times, you're doing it as a religion. Ayahuasca was never meant to be done as a religion. It was meant as a modifying of the experience so that one can go deep into their daily practice and enter these states without the medicine. So medicine, you have to, unfortunately, it has been commoditized into a spiritual consumer's market, and the dangers of using it and having something go wrong versus go right. And yes, many medicine journeys go wrong. And one of the reasons I don't run them is because too many things go wrong, where one person may believe that they do all this spiritual work until they come and have a medicine journey where they can't handle the frequency of anyone else in the room because it's higher than they've ever been, which then attracts their own negative thoughts and structures, and having to constantly keep that person into a relaxed state where they can get back into their space and their journey.
Okay. Let's say I know a friend that's still. How do you get back to ground zero? How does reality just become back to the normal way?
Starts with breath work.
Okay.
Breath work. There is no experience in any psychedelic experience that you cannot change with breath work. And then adding little basic imagery, like you're breathing down into your root chakra. So, in that, the deeper the breath goes, the brighter the red of the root chakra gets, and then all the way up to the top to the bottom, bottom to top to bottom, until such a time you're back in your body. Because all the psychedelic experiences is kicking you further out of your body, but your experience is still trying to be in your body at the same time, which makes a data flow error, where you're not perceiving from in your body or outside of your body. It's too many locations at once.
Is this the burnout? You've talked to me about a burnout before.
So that can be the burnout of overdoing it, but it could also be the frequency of the experience is so high it's going to burn you out no matter what your endurance is.
Oh, okay.
Because it's
and that was the Jimi Hendrix thing.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Now,
so
something else to understand here. This book is going to integrate with you where you're at, but it's also going to help you chart a course to where you are already at in the future. Okay. And in the future after that, and the future after that, and the future after that. What this book's going to ask you to do is strategize your future. your next couple of weeks, start using spiritual strategy behind yourself. Understand the nature of what time is and what you can do to save yourself time through practice.
I guess that's one of the things I kind of wanted to teach time on, like being a content creator, and maybe I don't even understand it fully.
Well, you can't create the content. You can't create the content until you've already had the experience, processed the experience, and wrote about the experience. Unfortunately, too many content creators in the spiritual world, as soon as they have a butterfly fly out of their ass in a vision, they want to tell everyone about it. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm tired of the butterfly flying out of everyone's ass story, or the prince saved me story, or the princess rescues the prince story. Okay? Those are all spiritual vapidness. Okay?
Yeah.
A real experience is something you process for a long period of time, and it's not about immediately telling it to somebody else who doesn't have the same spiritual point of view as you. That's vanity.
Okay.
Okay?
So you told me before I couldn't have a Kundalini experience because I was just too toxic, pretty much from the vaccines, the heavy metals, and things like that. Through breath work, like how can I?
It puts you back in your body and puts you back into your choices. Which back in your body is expanded perceptions and conceptions for you. Right now, you're limited in what you can actually see.
Okay.
Anyways, I just want to say, Freya, that the dragon sections meant a lot to me too. My name's Bruce, and I have a 24-year-old son named Brandon. And when I came across that material, as I was going through the 300,000 words, I went, "Wow." Yeah, so I know exactly how it hit you.
Yeah, it came. I mean, I got the book and I had to work so much yesterday, and finally, I was looking for little times to read here and there, and then falling asleep. I was like, I haven't read any of the book, and I just got it today, and so I just searched around, and that really resonated. And so I'm glad there's dragons on listening.
All right, Freya. Thanks a lot for calling in.
All right.
We got to move on to the next caller.
All right, thank you. Bye.
All right, Robert, our last caller.
Simon, you're up next. Signal to unmute.
Simon,
Hey-o.
are you there?
Simon here.
Hi, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Alberta, Canada.
Alberta, welcome to the show. What do you think of it so far?
Oh, it's great. It's great. I've been listening to material for a long time. Back in 2013, when I decided to punch the words Galactic Historian into the YouTubes. I have one thing I'd like to ask is, like, I don't want you to take me as ungrateful or anything. I got the book, it's on its way, and I'm gonna super enjoy that book. But when I listened to the Galactic Historian 2.0 series, you mentioned some of your personal fiction writings, and I'm curious if that's ever going to be publicized.
I have been thinking about that for a while.
Oh,
I have no intentions of publishing it now. Bruce and I talked about dual publishing stuff before. If anything, if I put it out under a pseudonym, maybe. Right now, I didn't write them for a giant audience. I wrote them for myself, and they were my own thing. As I evolved into book 2 and book 3 in the Gremlin Armageddon Clock series, which is the main thing that you're referring to, I developed an entire world, and it was very easy to write in. And that's what I did for my downtime, my relaxation time. It's a way I cleared my head using hyper creativity.
So I have a bit of a question about that writing process. So with you, with your unique perspectives, how do you, like, when you're creating a fiction, how do you keep from incorporating because you have this plethora of knowledge of all these other crazy experiences that have happened? Like, do you draw from that, or do you try to just create
absolutely, I draw from that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So there are some. When you're having to create villains, it makes it very easy to look into the groups of villains that we have here.
Yeah.
But also, you want to make a unique villain, something that isn't, your cookie cutter villain.
Yeah. Right.
Okay?
Right.
It's not, you got to create something that's going to be unique. And when I decided to create a character who didn't fit the perfect good side, didn't put the perfect bad side, was somewhere in between with his own set of goals and his own set of morals that may not be, good or bad, was what it's based off of. His moral code is what he's learned from. And then his forever antithesis enemy, the nation of gremlins, which if you watch the show, we get these technical gremlins that appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And what is a gremlin? If you've ever seen the Gremlin movie, they look like that. Do they breed like that? No, but their point is to create chaos wherever they go. And they're considered the lowest rung of evil creatures out there. They're like, the quadruple A league, and they never get any respect. So this particular character is fights against the gremlins. Like a gremlin a group of them will take over and attack outhouses. Whenever you go out in the outhouse, a gremlin will try to literally scare the shit out of you and harvest energy out of you, or do some kind of weird thing to you. And they'll pay a group of people to protect their outhouses. And the main character, Malcolm, was one of those people. Until the point it became epic. The battles that he had with the gremlins, because the gremlins used a special magic called gremlin opera. Now, this is something I've taken from the global narrative. And What is a gremlin opera? It's thousands of other gremlins live singing the battles that are going on between the different toilet warriors, and then broadcasting it to tens of thousands of other gremlins who are then betting on outcomes.
What?
Yes, to influence this live story that is going on.
Man, that's a writing prompt if I've ever heard one. My goodness, that is super creative.
But that was what I took out of the global narrative and gave to this unique thing where the gremlins, they began to realize the more they could tune in, like they started franchising, like broadcasting to other evil groups who then would add betting into this. And so it made this grand contest where it took like 15 good guys and 15 bad guys and put them into one area. And the betting would start who would work together, who wouldn't work together, who's going to be the last person alive. And then, okay, we need to throw a whole bunch of villains in here to force these people to work together.
Wow.
Sounds like the stock market.
Yeah, all the while it's being bet on to indirectly influence them.
Cool. Oh, I had a few more questions with regards to the book. I got in late, so I'm curious about what the dynamic is between you and Bruce writing the book together. How does that shake down?
Bruce, you want to answer that one?
Did you tune in late, or have you been here since the beginning?
I got in late. Yeah.
All right, listen to the first 30 minutes.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I don't mean to cop out on your, it's answered in detail.
It's fine.
From a technical writing perspective, from a creative writing perspective, all the drafts we went through, and it wasn't just Andrew and I, it was the entire group on the phone here. So it was a fascinating process and the most complex piece of writing and challenging piece of writing I've ever had to do in my life, in any spectrum, business or creative.
Fun. Yeah. So, and I just had one more little bit of humor I wanted to add, was that listening to everything going on in this show, we're talking about, the dedication you put into the words and the ink and everything. You're talking about how the book is a medicine, and I'm getting to think, I'm like, what are they putting in this ink? Like, is this is this some kind of special DMT ink going in here, or what's going on?
It's Amazon ink.
No DMT in it though.
Nope, it's all in the encoded light.
Oh, encoded light. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The encoded letter just helps you uncode the light.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for fielding my call. That was all I had to add. So you guys keep on keeping on. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Simon.
All right, Robert, do we have any other callers here?
We don't have any other hands up right now.
Is that? No, I think that's somebody else. I think that's somebody else. Never mind. Unless that is. If it is you, raise your hand. Come on and talk to us. If it isn't you, it isn't.
Yeah, just
I don't think it is.
1 in 60. 1 in 60. Just roll the dice.
It's not. It's not. Well, guys, anybody else have anything they'd like to add about what we've talked about these last 2 hours about the book? Any experiences you want to share?
I have an experience.
Yes, it is him, David.
It's my pleasure to write the foreword for this book. Bruce Robert, all of you put a lot of work and effort into this book. If you guys haven't already, you should absolutely get this book. All right. I read it, read it a lot. And it has insights for every one of you. I'm actually circulating the news to people who really need to read this book, people who are steeped in their old ideas about what esoterics is, the nature of the universe, and so on. And so I could pretty much tell you that when they actually get a look at this book, they're going to be a little bit more educated than before. Believe me when I tell you that this is a book that you need to read. If you're a serious student of esoterics, you need to read the book, okay? Apart from that, that must have been back-breaking work, right? How are you guys still standing? Bruce, lovely writing. And the team that read it and went through it, excellent piece of work. This will go very far. I congratulate Andrew. And yeah, this has been just amazing. It really has. All right.
So David, as you were reading the book and like you said, read and read, what were some of the insights that you were able to glean from it?
Okay. Oh, how much time do you have? This is the end of the show. You really want to go there?
We got plenty of time. Don't worry.
All right. Listen, guys, if you have a staple view of what esoterics is, a lot of you all are stuck. Here are some of the insights. You got to look at things from a different perspective and a fresh perspective. I think one of the best insights that the book gave me is the opportunity to argue with myself. Okay? And and this is the intention. It gives you the opportunity to revamp some of your beliefs, put them within a different frame. So here's the thing about it. Like, I'm going to play on the old analogy. Let's say you have a cup and it's half full. You fill it up with all the readings that you've done, but you're still inside the cup. Go get yourself a basin instead. When you finish with that basin, get yourself a lake. When you finish with the lake, get yourself an ocean. All right. So this book will be your step up, and I really think that you guys should take the chance to read it and get a wider perspective of things. So some of the insights that I could pretty much tell you are in the book is the concept of what you guys consider to be universe in terms of the realities that exist. Okay. If you're thinking in terms of this, of everything that you've been taught, right? I'm a philosophy student myself, literally a philosophy student as well. My major in university was in English literature and philosophy. And one of the things that we learned was the nature of reality, the nature of the universe. I studied Democritus and those guys. What this book is doing is giving you the narrative that connects the pieces, okay? And I don't want to give away the book because this is going to be a spoiler alert, but it will tie up all your philosophy together, right? In a cohesive manner, right? So guys, get the book. Get the book. Okay? Believe me when I tell you I don't give out compliments. If I tell you that this book is a great book, it is a great book. I don't do compliments. You guys know this by now.
Yes, we know this.
You guys know this by now. Everybody in this chat room knows this by now. This is a really well put together book. It's well written. And it's not that I'm biased because I know Andrew. I know good work when I see it. Okay, so check it out, guys.
So David, one of the things you and I talked about in some private conversations with Bruce is the controversy that it may stir for the message versus the messenger. Let's touch on that for a moment. Not that we're trying to go negative. We want to prepare people for some of the larger styles of impact that this book's going to make.
Okay. One of the things that throughout history has been a problem is when you make people think. It's inconvenient.
Yes. Damn you, make me think.
It's inconvenient. And so when it is that you put out a book, which like the established esoteric arcana says, we have this much knowledge, but you want to extend it past that, that will increase the thinking. We have to understand that there are people that have developed a bit of arrogance in the way that they think. Okay? And that an arrogance leads to, well, ignorance. And we know this, right? And so I think what the book does, being somebody who has been around fraternal orders for quite a bit, I can't wait for these guys to read this book. I'm personally going to buy a copy and send it to them. Okay? I'm going to personally buy a copy and send it to them. I just put a bunch of notices inside the Freemasonry community between the last couple of days. The responses I've gotten were like, okay, so what's so great about this book? I am personally going to buy a copy and send it to the brethren, because a lot of them are in two camps. The first camp is the self-flagellation camp. You know, you have to really, really try hard and read 1,000 books, right? It's intellectual masturbation at its very best, you know, right? So the thought that a lot of information can be condensed in one book would be a little bit troubling for them. I could see that. There is another aspect of it. People who believe that there is no way that someone who's not part of a certain kind of learning or arcana could have insights, and they're wrong on both counts. We know this already. We know that stuff. Okay, but Andrew, I'm definitely redirecting them in the direction of your book. And Bruce, you've had run-ins with the intellectual masturbating community. So why don't you you give us some insights onto that?
Well, I'm just in landing mode like a co-pilot on a Delta commercial flight right now. I just want to see the reactions to the book. I'm waiting for reviews on Amazon. So if you've read it and you want to, please get your review up there. We love the exchange. But I have to say, David, when I contemplate what I'm being asked to contemplate, I draw a blank. I don't want to imagine it. I'd rather experience it. I'm just going to wait.
Don't worry. Oh, don't worry. That's coming.
It'll come. Exactly.
Oh, don't worry. That's coming. That's coming. The reactions are coming. Actually, this is going to be one of those moments. I believe, just full disclosure, I did write part of the foreword of this book. And my tagline was, "There is something new under the sun." We're tired of the cookie cutter books. We're tired of the cookie cutter books.
We're tired of the alpha goddess energy.
I have read 1,000 esoteric books in my day, and a lot of them are cookie cutter. Yep. They give the same information in this kind of distilled, dumbed down version. I think one of the things that you guys are going to really like about this book is that anybody can read it. Yep. You don't need a particular code or a codex to read the book. Anybody can read it, right? And it's entertaining. It's not boring. Yo, that alone, you have a philosophy book that's entertaining. That doesn't happen. So
it's like a trip to Vegas that's good for you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Anybody can read that book, whether you're an intellectual masturbator that believes that if something isn't difficult, then it isn't worth anything, or whether you're somebody, whether you're a soccer mom and so on, anybody can read this book. I'm not asking you. I've tested it. People can get the concepts. They can get the concepts in this book, and whether you understand this at a deeper level or whatever deeper level that you want to understand it, you get out your whip and you beat yourself over the thing that there is deeper meaning. I have to get my deeper meaning. I got to get my deeper fix, right? Whether you are that kind of guy or whether you're just a guy that knows that I need to get my head out of my ass, the book is worth something. Guys, really get it. Don't take my word for it. get the book. When we actually put out some excerpts and so on, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. David is scrapping metaphors left and right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is that kind of day?
Yep.
It's that kind of day.
Exactly.
Right.
The magic metaphor. Ass is working hard there.
So Andrew, what are your plans from henceforth?
Henceforth is promote this book as far as wide as we can, and then we've got some other things coming on the side. David, you and I have talked about some of the projects that we've got going here, and you know, and everyone here is that's a part of this project. We've got some more projects that are coming. So Bruce and David, you guys want to talk about this other opportunity we have and how we can use this book as a leap into a deeper form of education in the esoteric community?
You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so a lot of you know me from Facebook and other things, but basically, one of the things that you probably don't know about me is that I have a charter to teach metaphysical science from the same mystery schools that are supposed to be secret. Of course, I'm not that guy who's going to be the, oh, women can't join and all that kind of nonsense. We're living in 2020, 2021. Did I just say 2020?
David, why don't you give them the background of how you got this charter and what really this charter is and what it means to the greater community.
Okay, so background is a few years ago, the esoteric community realized that it was losing members to death. And so what has happened is we got them together to cooperate. This is one of the very few times that the esoteric community cooperated to form a school called ISIS, right? And so what ISIS is an esoteric school where the Freemasons, the Martinists, the OTG, and the OTO, OTG meaning the Order of the Holy Grail, and the OTO, and a number of schools,
Rosicrucians
came together to create the school. And so the school was created, but they had a problem with actually getting people to join because it facilitated the recruitment process. Now, for those of you who are members of the fraternity, you guys know what happens is that you get invited when your family members are in, right? But the charter was basically opened up and to other people because they need fresh people in the lodges. Right. I'm not particularly concerned about the membership of the lodge. I'm concerned that esoteric information is kept secret a lot of the times. So what it is that we're going to be doing is we're going to be opening up our own school.
Which is all the teachings of all the major secret societies that got together to put together a charter, which you have the charter to teach all of the esoteric sciences without limitation or restriction.
Okay.
For the secrecy.
So if you guys
ponder that.
So yes, this will not be esoterics light. This will be very deep esoterics that we are going to be teaching in the future. And Andrew and I have put it together, and we're going to put this out there. There are other plans in the works, right? I still want to do that across the United States bus store, esoteric bus store. Now that's funny. All right, so there are other plans that are in the works, but we're going to be doing, launching that very soon. We already have what we need to do that. If you guys are interested in something like that, get that book first. And
so David, let's talk about how this book interacts with the material that's in that charter.
Oh, for sure,
it simplifies it.
For sure, it's an expansion as well. It's not just a simplification, right? Because a simplification tends to suggest a dumbing down, but it's also an expansion as well. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's say you're a fraternal brother and you're working with like 10 sets of keys, but you don't know how the keys interact with each other. Okay. And for those of you who are esoterically minded, referring to like Kabbalistic knowledge as an example. Okay, let's say you're working with 10 sets of keys. You know that there are 10 sets of keys. You could recite them off the top of your head. You're talking Malkuth, Chesed, Bina, Chokma, whatever. You could recite them off the top of your head. But it's just words until you actually have to apply it. Okay? It's just words until you have to actually apply it. I think the value of the book, this book lays in its application, right? It lays in its application. You have to be able to bring that knowledge down to actual practice. And this is what I want to champion here, really. All of us here have some sort of most of us, I shouldn't say that, most of us have some sort of background in esoteric philosophy. And it would be nice to have something new in the mix.
And to open up the public debate on the material itself.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
I'm looking forward to that.
Bruce, is there anything that you want to add?
No, that was unbelievably eloquent, and I look forward to being a part of this and lend my pen.
That's the author's pen. Da-da-dum. So, does anybody else have anything they want to add? Anybody else in the panel?
Get those coloring in.
Get those coloring in.
Yeah, one of you's going to do it, and you would make my day, universe. Just like, look.
So everybody, you can go on Amazon.com and get the book. Robert, go ahead and put the link to the book up there. So we're at the final part of the show, everyone. We've had an outstanding conversation about the book, what it took to get it to where it is. And I want to thank everyone from the top and the bottom, the inside, the outside, in every direction, time machine gallery, everyone that was a part of this process. Thank you, and thank you. We made it here. And now the next part is to keep pushing the book. And there are more books and more books to come, as Bruce and I had already talked about what comes next. Well, we also want to see how this book affects people. And we are going to be doing different releases specific on chapters of the book here and there, where we'll go in depth to it and help people get a little bit more. But for a final word, what can I say? It's here, it's arrived, and now the rest is processing. And where we process from there, the universe will take us. Anybody else have any last words they want to say? All right, then. All right, Robert. Go ahead.
Vote banana.
Gratitude. Thanks, guys.
All right, Robert, take us away.
A sutra on time written in the colloquial now, a discourse from another world, the many dimensions of human experience, dispersing old finite structures into infinity and beyond. This is the untold story of time and space, how it comes into existence, how human beings interact with it, how it serves to bring all tribes, cultures, communities, and nations back together again in mutual collaboration. Allow this book to delight you, to challenge you, your thinking, and invite you to fully participate in the story you have come here to co-create. The Galactic Historian, The World According to Andrew Bartzis, is a spiritual medicine for our time.
Each different bubble of reality is true. A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma. Nudge, nudge, it's the Holy Grail. Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence. Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important? Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality. Hello, let's create, let's co-create, and let's change this world with love. No matter if you're from Alpha Centauri or Earth, we all began with the same birthing process.
We live in a limited point of view. Living the mystical life daily is about striving for the unlimited point of view. Each day, each human being gets an infinite amount of choices. Living the mystical life daily is about facing obstacles and challenges. The level of awareness that you are working at means you have a responsibility to be equal with it. How does one truly let go of expectation? You can make the moment that you wake up to the moment you go to sleep sacred. The keys to success: choice, 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 and choice.